Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple mod in Fallout 4. So this mod is basically going to be a button, and when the player presses this button, it's going to spawn an NPC at a certain location. So this mod is going to consist of an X marker, which is a static invisible object. It's going to consist of a button, which the player will activate, and it's also going to consist of a script attached to the button, which is going to run basically what's going to spawn, where it's going to spawn and whatnot. So this is pretty simple stuff, but I know back a while ago, over a year ago, when I was, modding Fallout 4, I didn't really know how to do this, and it was a bit confusing. So I'm just going to run through it and show you what it's like to do this, and basically how it's done. So, I would like to note that just placing things in the vanilla world can break the game. So in this example of this mod, I'm going to be placing the button and the X marker in the vanilla world or world space by Vault 111, and this can break references, so I don't recommend doing that stuff without knowing what you're actually doing, because it will break things, cause issues. I don't know if Bethesda's fixed this or not, but I'm just noting in case they haven't, because I think it may still be fucked. And yeah, if you want to fix that, you can just use X edit anyway. So yeah, for anyone that's interested in what it's like, and who wants to get into modding, you can just watch this video and just see sort of how it's done. And I'll explain a few things. So this is the creation kit, the 64-bit version, which literally is no difference whatsoever from the 32-bit. And this is what modders use to create mods. So I'm not really going to run through everything, because I'm hoping people know the basic shit, and it'll take me 10 years to say what everything is. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the cell view, we're going to go Commonwealth in the world space, and this is an exterior, which is the whole Commonwealth, and it takes about 2 years to load okay, there we go. And we're going to press V to search for Vault 111 EXT, and this is basically the Vault 111 exit. We're going to double click that, and it's going to take us to Vault 111, where we will place down the two objects. When it wants to load, it takes 10 fucking years to load. If you ever get warnings like this, I wouldn't worry about it. It does become useful when you start making a big mod, or a large mod, but since it's a simple mod, it's not going to have any errors. Of course, placing it in this vanilla space will have errors, but we're not worrying about that for this example. So these are all the markers in the game. You can press M to disable that, but yeah, I'm going to enable it in a second once I place it in the button. So over in the filter section or object window, you want to go to world objects, and then you want to go to the activators, and in the filter you want to just activate or filter it by button. And once you've done that, you'll see activator called powerlift button 01. I usually use this because it's a pretty good button, and I mean it works pretty well. And just drag it into the world space or the render window, and you'll see that it will spawn in, and we are going to rotate it so it's viewing a certain spot here. And we're going to press F. So we press W, and it brings up the rotation window, and E brings up the moving location. Number 2 brings up the resize of the object. And if you've ever used a modeling software, then you should be familiar with how to control the mouse movements and the camera in the render window. I'm not going to explain that, because I'm not really good at explaining stuff. So, yes, so we've got our button here, and you press F to make it go to the ground, which I've already said, I'm pretty sure. And so we place that. Now we're going to place the X marker. So we click static, we go to world objects again, and click static. And we filter by X marker, so there's X marker. And we will see, get rid of that, we'll see a static object called X marker. And it'll be used quite a lot of times, and we want to enable the markers again. And another way to enable the markers, go to view, and you'll see markers here. You can just tick that and untick it. So I want to give me some light so I can see what the fuck's going on. So we just want to drag this into the render window, and we'll see it pop up just as an X So this is an X marker. So this stuff is invisible in game. You don't see this stuff in game, but I usually use X markers as a point of reference, basically to place things or to do certain things. I'm not sure if it's the right convention to use for that, but I use it anyway. Sometimes I use a X marker heading, but usually I just use an X marker to spawn, to replace the spawn objects at a location or something. So we've placed the X marker. We can now basically add the script to the button. So there's two ways to add scripts to buttons. So let me go to this button again and explain to you the two ways. So there's two methods, right? So the first method will only attach to this button, and it won't affect any other button in the game, only that reference object. So this object is a unique reference, and if we add a script to this, it will only add it to this object. The other method is to add it to the actual parent. So in a sense, this is a parent class, and this is a child class. It's basically inheritance. So this child class is inheriting from this, basically, if you know programming. And basically, whatever you put in here, whatever scripts you put in here, will inherit out to the rest of the buttons in the game. So there is a count of 82 buttons of this instance in the game. So if I was to add a script in here that when the player pressed the button, it killed them, all the 82 buttons already in the game will basically have that applied to it. So any button like this, you press it, it will kill you. So that you only do that if you want to create a button that does the same thing multiple times with different properties. So usually, if you want to do that, you just duplicate the button and just change it to the unique type of your mod or unique prefix and use it as it is. You don't edit vanilla stuff because that's when stuff goes bad. But yes, you just duplicate it and you'll add the script this way instead. You click the add and just do what I'm about to do. So, for just the reference, you just click on the button, it will bring up this window. Usually it opens it up in the 3D data tab. So we just go along the tabs here till we see scripts. And there will already be a script in here. I'm not too sure what this actually is. I think it just plays the animation for the character or the player pressing the button or something. I don't actually fucking know, to be honest. But I've never actually looked at that. So we can just click add here, and we can click new script. And once we do this, it brings up a window called add new script. It gives us a name we can put in namespace, extends, and since this is an object reference, we will have object reference in here. And constant, I would recommend unticking that because I know some people will have this ticked and they'll do things in their script and it'll give them an error and they wonder what's going on. When you add fields or variables to your script that change and stuff, this thing gives you an error. I'm not too sure what this actually does. I think it just means the script's constant, things can't change or something. I don't fucking know. I know what it means for fields and variables. It just means they're constant and you can't change them, but I'm not too sure what it means with a script. So I'm not too sure what any of these actually mean. But down here is the documentation string. So this is what you say what the script will do. So before we do any of that, we want to give the script a name. So you can't just give this any old name. Scripts in Bethesda games are all stored in one central location. So if you name the script something that's already been used in the game, it will give you an error. So you need to give it some sort of unique name. And also another thing is, since the scripts are all stored in a central location, and if you're working on a lot of mods, a lot of different mods at a time, you'll get really fucking confused on what script is for what if you don't give your script a certain prefix, unique to that mod. So what I mean by this is, whatever your mod's called, whatever your mod's going to be, you basically want to put that in the script name, as well as what it's going to do. So spawn, I don't know, spawn npc example, spawn button. So that's basically an example. It's quite a big prefix, but you know. So this is what the mod's going to be, spawn npc example. That's what this mod's going to be called. I haven't saved it yet, so it's not actually called anything. But you want to give it some sort of prefix like that. So it's quite a big prefix. I'll just recommend giving short characters like, you know, D38 or something. I don't know. Just something that you'll know relates to that mod. But for this example, I'm just doing this. I'm not too sure if there's any sort of conventions we have to use capitals or not. But for the meantime, I'll just stick with that. And the script is spawn button. So yes, we can basically leave this all as it is. We can add some documentation in here just to know what the button does. Spawns an actor at the X marker. So that's going to get added in the script. So we can press OK. And if you get any errors, it means you're using a script that's already in the game, or that's already been made. So, once you press OK, usually it brings up that properties window which you just saw, but if it doesn't, it just brings you back to this. Just click your script and click properties. Now, this is the window where we basically reference all the stuff that the script's going to use. So, if it's going to use certain doors or to do stuff, if it's going to use actors to do things, if it's going to move objects, spawn weapons, any kind of stuff like that, it'll be done via this. And that's basically what the script's use the properties to do things. So we need two properties for this. The first of which will be the X marker, so it will be an object reference property, and we'll also have an actor base property, which will give us the actor we want to spawn. So I don't actually know if I said this, but we're making a button that spawns an actor, and it's every time you press a button that keeps spawning an actor. I have no idea if I said that at the beginning of the video or not, so hopefully I did, or else you won't know what the fuck I was doing. But yes, I'm making it so you can spawn an actor every time you press the button. So the first thing we want to add actually is an object reference, and we'll just call this X marker, and pretty basic name. And we'll just leave constant on because it's not like it's going to change anyway. And an array is, if you don't know what an array is, we're not going to have this ticked, but an array is basically a list of objects. So if you have multiple object references for this one property, you can just tick this as an array and you can have multiple object references. And we won't worry about anything else. And we can click OK. And now we can click on the X marker we created as an object reference, click edit value, and pick reference and render window, this button here. We're going to press this, and we're basically just going to select the X marker. And you'll see the X marker appear in the window here. And there's ways to tell if you've selected the right thing, like you can select the X marker, and you can look at the ID over here, and you can see it's F9A. F9A, it's pretty straightforward. So, another object, what am I saying? Another property we're going to add is an actor base. So, we're just going to choose the type of actor base. So, one thing I didn't explain with making an X marker is you have to use, you can't use certain names, like you can't just go out and name whatever you want in here. You can't just call this like actor or something. It'll give you errors. So you know, you can't name these certain things like string, int, any sort of stuff that's being used in the engine already. So like, you know, a string is already going to be used because it's a string, or an int, or a double, float, an actor, an object reference, spell, you know, image space modifier, any sort of that stuff you can't name because it'll give you an error. So basically you need to give this some sort of unique name. So unlike scripts, it doesn't matter what you name this, so it doesn't matter if like actor01 is in another property in a script somewhere. The properties are only within the scope of this script, so it doesn't matter what you name these. It just can't be named those conventions like float, int, actor base, whatever. It basically can't be named any of these types. So anything in here can't be named, and certain other things can't be named either. So actor01's fine, because if it was just to be actor, it will give me an error, Actor01 it won't because it's not being used anywhere. So just for an example, I'm going to call it actor, so it'll give me an error so I can show you what happens. And we're just going to leave the property as it is and click OK. So when the variable stuff is being used and you're not allowed to use it, there's a name for it, but I don't know what's called. Conventions, I don't know what it's called, but you get this error here. It tells you what line the error's on. Since we actually aren't in the code at the moment, you don't know what the fuck this is, but it just says it cannot name variable property the same non-type of script. So when you click OK, you'll notice that it's actually not sitting here, the thing that we created. So we need to actually click OK. We need to go to the script, right click on it and do edit source. Now when you do this, it'll bring up a window, and this is basically how you create your scripts. And as you can see, there's our two properties we created, and you can see the active base is there even though it wasn't there in the properties window. And if we were to save this, Control S, we can see we still get the same error. So to fix this error, you can basically just delete this and save it. So you can delete this, save it, and you won't get an error, and it says it's been successful. But since I'm going to use this, I'm going to put 01 on the end, then save, and you can see it will compile. So this is a compiler. This basically just checks the code, make sure it's all fine, and make sure it's able to run. So the compiler checks every line of code. So if you put some random shit in here, it's going to give you an error because it doesn't know what the fuck this is. You need to have certain things in here for it to be able to read it. So you know, you can't put place here at actor or something. You can't put like place this actor here. It doesn't know what that is. You need to have certain there's certain conventions you need to use in order for the compiler to know what you actually want it to do, or what you want the game to do. So I'll show you that in a minute, but right now I'm going to add comments. So the first comment I'm going to add is properties. So it's good to comment your code because when you later refer back to it, you'll know what things are, and it looks better and makes you look like a better coder. So this little semicolon here basically is ignored by the compiler. So if we save this, we can see it compiles, but if we delete this and save it, it will give us an error. So this semicolon just means anything on this line, ignore. So the compiler is going to ignore it, and the game, it's not going to run this line of code. Basically, it's just going to ignore it. And yes, so before we go any further with this, we need to go back into the properties, and we need to add, we can see the actor 01 here now because we fixed it. So we need to add an actor. So when we click edit, it will give us basically every actor in the game. And I'm just going to find one here that's not going to kill us. So usually a workshop is fine. Workshop dog, that'll be fine. So one thing I didn't explain, that I should probably explain real quick, is that there is two types of actors. There's actor and actor base. So in case some people get confused, we're using actor base. I know some people out there are probably going to use actor. So there's a difference here. Actor is actors already in the game. So this is like an object reference. Object references are can only be referenced in the game. Actors can only be referenced in the game as well. So if an actor isn't spawned and you try to use this type, it's not going to work because the actor is not in the game and you can't actually select them. So an actor is basically a template of, an actor is using actor base as a template. So actor base is a template, and that's what actor uses. And since we want to spawn the template of an NPC, we use actor because you can't actually spawn with actors. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, we use actor base because it's a template, and we're basically spawning a type of actor, or an object, an instance of the actor base, if that makes any sense. So we're all done here. We can press OK. So one thing I should probably bring up is this is quite annoying. Creation kit wiki. Before I go any further, I need to bring this up because this is really good. So, the Creation Kit wiki is basically what you use to find all the script references and functions and methods and stuff. So this is what modders use to refer to most of the time if we forget something or we need to find something. We just come in here, Control F, and find what we need. So, okay, let's open up the script and edit the source, and we need to get a certain event. So, in here, we will find something called events. We need to click this, and it will bring us to the following page. And what we're looking for here is on activate, and we need to select this, and it'll bring us to this page. So, this is the event we're going to apply to this button. So events basically run where certain things happen. If you have events in a script and things happen related to that object, the event will fire. So in this case, we're using the onActivate event. So onActivate basically means when the event is activated, so when the player basically activates the object reference, so if they press E on it or something. So you can apply this to a container, and when they press E on it, activate it, the script will fire, for example, but we're doing it for a button. So we want this to fire for a button. So, this is the first way of finding out functions and methods. The other way is manually going into the gameplay, Papyrus Script Manager, and when it loads after 10 fucking years, and it hides behind everything for some reason. Usually, sometimes it hides behind every window. They don't know how to code stuff. Bethesda don't know how to code things. So, since this is an object reference, we can put an object reference in here, and we will see object reference, and we can open this up in an external editor, and we'll see a whole lot of stuff. So this is basically all the stuff relating to an object reference. So we can basically search for the activate thing in here. So you can see, here we go, we found it. So event received when reference is activated, and here it is, exactly the same as this. We can see this one just has a line of code in here, or a debug. So, yes, there's two ways of doing that. I would recommend using Creation Kit Wiki, because if you're new to this, you probably won't know what the fuck really half this shit is, and it'll probably be a bit confusing. So, we're going to use this line of code here. This line of code I would use, but just to make things a little more complicated so I can show off some more things in scripting, I'm going to use this because it uses a statement. So basically you can just copy this, minimize this, and paste it into your code. And usually the tab is all fucked up, so we have to fix the tabbing. Don't know why, it usually happens when you copy code and paste it. So, what this is saying basically is on activate, so when the player activates, it's going to run this line of code here. It's going to read this. This is an if statement. So if something is within a certain criteria, it will run the code within the statement, or else it will run some other code depending on how you're doing the statement. So yeah, you can have an else. I think it's an else or an else if in here, but we're not having an else because we don't want to do anything else. Although, actually no, I don't know why this isn't in these four. So, yeah, so I didn't even explain this that well. So scripts in Papyrus, or in every single language ever made, basically runs line by line. So it'll read this, then it'll read this, depending if this is true, and it'll read this, then it'll read this, and it'll read this. So it reads everything line by line. It doesn't skip stuff, it only skips over things if this is false. So if this is false, it will just skip straight to this and then go to this, or whatever. So, basically we can put our code in here, and we need one line of code. It's pretty straightforward. So I already know the code for it, but I'm going to find it on here because just to show you what it's like to find the stuff. So we want to use the place at me script reference, or the function. So all we need to do is go to this main page here and look for place at. So here we go. These two functions here. So these two functions do sort of the same thing, but we're going to use the place actor at me, because place at me is sort of a bit broken, and if you don't use it properly it can sort of make things spawn oddly. So we're going to use the place actor at me. So we can just open this up, and it'll give us all these examples and the function. And yeah, these are the examples. So sometimes it doesn't have examples, but for the most part, for most of the easy things, it does. So you can just come in here, copy this code, and basically paste it into here. And once we've done that, if we were to save this, it will give us an error because it does not know what this is. It doesn't know what this is because we've got nothing in our script referring to marker property as well as be a base property. So we just need to grab our actor01, throw it into here, and our X marker. I forgot to copy the R, and throw it into here. So what this is saying is, at the X marker, which is an object reference, place actor at me, actor01. So in programming terms, X marker has a function within it because it inherits from object reference class or script of place actor at me, and it is passing in the property actor01. So behind the scenes there's some stuff happening that you don't see that's causing the script to actually do what it's meant to do. This is basically just a shortcut sort of thing. I don't really know how to explain it. It's just a small piece of code referring to a bigger piece of code, basically, depending on what you're doing. But yeah, that's basically what that's reading. That's probably a really bad example, and some people out there are going to cringe at that, but, you know, just don't. So, you can actually add in a comma in here and spawn a certain amount of NPCs. So, usually it doesn't really work. It doesn't work with a button. I don't know why, but you can spawn like 375 NPCs when you press the button. But we only want to spawn one, so either you can just have one here, or you can just remove it. So if we were to save this, you can see it compiles correctly. If it doesn't compile, it means you fucked something up. So just for an example, I'm going to add an else in here, and this else is going to be if someone else presses the button. So this button will only activate when the player presses it. It will only spawn an NPC when the player presses it. So we're going to add another thing in here. Basically, that some other person pressed it. Someone else is pressing the button. So debug is a script or sort of a class or whatever, and it is basically calling the message box function within that class or method, whatever, and it is passing in this string to be displayed as a message box. So this will get displayed as a message box, and you have to press OK. It will be in the center of the screen, and it will display the stuff in here. And if we save this, we can see it still compiles. So yeah, if a raider or a follower was to press a button, you'll get this message. Since I don't have a follower with me, I can't actually demonstrate this. But yeah, if you have a follower, it'll do that shit. And you can also do the same you can place a debug message in here, but I don't really want to. You can also do utility.notification, which will display a notification. Spawned actor X marker. I'm pretty sure it's utility. Haven't actually coded this thing in a while, so unsure. Okay, it's I don't think it is utility. Unless I'm okay, I can't be fucked. It's late at night. I'm pretty sure it's not debug. Is it debug? I probably fucked it up. Okay, I spelled notification wrong. Don't judge me. Alright, I can't be fucked looking at what the problem is there and what word I've got wrong. Alright. So, anyway, that's basically our script. So we're going to comment this real quick. Checks if player is pressing the button. If so, run following code. If not the player, run following code. End of code. You know, it's pretty simple stuff. So, you know, you should do this. You should always add comments and stuff like that into your code if you want to refer back to it, or you're like working with other people, because it makes things easier. And in 10 years time, or like a week or a day's time, when you refer back to your code, you're like, oh yes, I remember, I did that. But if you've never coded before, it may sound stupid, but you know, a day or so later, a couple days later, or a week later, if you make a large chunk of code, you'll look at it and be like, what the fuck is this? I don't even remember what I did. I've done that quite a lot, and it's really useful to comment your code. I'll add in one more thing just to make this more complicated than it needs to be, because it's kind of a waste of time. But I'm going to make a field or a variable, and I'm going to make it of type int. So I'm going to type an int here and spawn mount equals. I'm just going to do spawn amount. So, this is basically a variable. So, we're declaring spawn amount as int. So, you always want to start it off with a lowercase, and then any other word you do capital. I don't remember what that's called, crow's foot or something. I don't really actually remember, but I don't remember the names for these things. So, if we were to save that, we can see it still compiles. And what we can do in here is we can assign this. So you can also assign this up here, so you can do like equals 3 or something, but it's better to do it in your code. So we can just do spawn amount equals 1, and we can copy this and basically paste it here, and we can see it works fine. So in this case, if we were to change this to 3, it probably won't do anything, or 4, it won't do anything. It will still probably spawn 1. But in other cases, it should spawn more than, you know, 1. I think there may be something wrong with this. I'm not too sure. I don't actually know what you meant to pass into this, because I haven't looked in a while. But yeah, so that's basically declaring a variable. So we're gonna set that as 1. You can also make a constant. I'm actually not going to talk about a constant, because there's really no point in making it way more complicated than it needs to be. So we can save that, and it'll say fine. We can now exit this and click OK and save our mod. So we're going to get that. So I don't remember what I called the script. What's the script called? I'm just going to copy what the script's called up here, because that's what I said it would be. So copy that name, and we'll go data. We'll not go data, we'll go save, paste it in here, and we will save. And we need to close all the dialog boxes apparently, so make sure you close everything before you save, or else it'll give you that shitty error. And we'll paste that in there again, and we save. Now our mod has been saved. So that's basically the mod done. So of course this is probably quite a long video, because I was explaining things. In real situations, you'll be able to like get this done real quick, because you know you won't be talking half the time and explaining shit. But yes, I was trying to explain stuff and hopefully help some people understand things. So we can run Fallout 4 now, and so when you create a mod, it doesn't enable it automatically in the load order. You have to go into the load order and activate it. Why don't I have sound? That's because my headset was turned down. it doesn't make it load automatically. You have to go into load order and manually make it activate. So if we go into a load order here, it will most likely be at the bottom. It usually always is. And here it is, spawn NPC example, 33 kilobytes, or kilobyte. So we can activate this, exit, click OK. And once it's done loading, in 10 fucking years, we can go to load game and load a game. So, one thing I'll explain real quickly, if you're working on quite a big project, it's good to start a new game to test out your mod, or to test out things you've changed, because usually when you're dealing with a lot of scripts and you're dealing with a lot of things need to be taken into account, and sometimes if you don't fully restart a game, scripts don't work properly. I don't know why this is, it's just why this stuff doesn't work properly. So that's why you always see restart or create a new game when you install this mod, because you know things won't work properly if you don't sometimes. But with simple mods like this, you don't really need to. So what the fuck is going on? Okay, for some reason it wouldn't let me press yes. That was a bit weird. So yeah, just like I said in the beginning, just placing things in the world like I did. Why does this look like shit? Just placing things in the world like I did do cause issues, so I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you know what you're doing and you've took the time to research what happens and how to fix it and stuff. So we can see our button is here. So when we press this button, we will see a dog spawns. And you know, we can press this button, the dog will keep spawning, and we can spam the fuck out of it. And what do you know, we have a whole lot of dogs. So if I were to get a follower, I don't know how to get a follower, to be fucking honest with you. I've got chat room installed, my mod that I made ages ago. What the fuck is this? Okay, I don't have chat room installed, so I can't actually test it out. But if you make that script yourself and tell someone else to press this button, it will give you that message box. What the fuck is going on? Shit flying everywhere, fucking chaos. But yeah, you can spam the fuck out of that, and it'll spawn a lot of shit. Hell yeah, look at that. Having fun, dogs? Yeah, I'm sure you are. So, that's been a pretty simple video on how to make a button that spawns an NPC in Fallout 4 using the creation kit, with some explanation on scripting. So I have no idea if I actually said what I was creating in the beginning of the video. I'm pretty sure I didn't, so I have to add sort of a note in the beginning of the video, a notation explaining what I'm making, because I don't think I did. But if I did, I'm pretty stupid. So, hey look, he's got a little teddy bear. Just despawns. The fuck is that? Now, I don't know about that. He just pulls the teddy out of his fucking ass and rips it apart, then despawns. But yeah, anyway, hopefully this helped some people, gave some people sort of insight to what it's like to sort of do things in the creation kit. Of course, this is really simple stuff. There's stuff starts to get complex as you do things, and yeah, the creation kit's a bit limited to what you can do. But yeah, hopefully this gave some people some insight, and you know, I'm basically repeating what I'm saying for some reason. I always do it. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you want me to do more videos like this, which most likely you won't, then let me know. And yeah, have a good one, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.